Thank you very much. And I am very happy that I could come to this part of Ireland for the first time and meet all of you this evening. I came first to Ireland in 1990 when I was half my size now. And since then, I came to Ireland every year, except last 3 years because of COVID. But I didn't come that much to this part of the place. I used to go to Cork quite a lot. So I'm very happy that I'm here, and also the Palpong Island. Unfortunately, our nun found to be positive with COVID yesterday and she is quarantined. So I'm asked to say something about, I think not too much to do with Buddhism. The title I was given was, what was it? Stable mind and open heart in scary times, in difficult times. We all know that last few years there was this quite scary pandemic which didn't spare any part of the world, which affected almost every part of the world, even the smallest islands and the remotest places of the world. And it's a kind of a devastative effect. Didn't make any difference whether it was in a highly developed country with all kind of modern medical whatever you call it, facilities, or in very underdeveloped areas of the world. And not just that, we are not totally free from this pandemic. And now we have a very ugly war in Ukraine, which is also affecting the whole world. So, and not only that, so many people are suffering who are in those areas and who are directly involved in this war, but it is also affecting almost everywhere in the world, economically and otherwise. So, I've been in Europe last 5 months, and everybody is worried, scared, and feeling very insecure. And they often ask what to do. Now, wars and pandemics and things like this is of course not something new in this world. We have had so many wars every part of the world. Actually, when we look into the history of humankind, it's almost a history of wars. And wars always mean great suffering. It's not just the losers who suffer, it suffers everybody. So many lives are lost, so many families lose their loved ones. Everybody has to face lots of destruction, devastation, and many, many problems everywhere. But what can we do? I think this is important, that what most of us who are not the decision makers and who cannot directly do something to change the situation, what should we do? We can pray. I don't know if it works. But I think it's a good thing to do it, because at least we make a very positive aspiration. And if everybody makes a very positive aspiration, I'm sure that has some effect, directly or indirectly. But at this point, I think I'm more concerned about how do we ourselves, see things or have a certain kind of way of taking things that would not make ourselves that badly affected by the things that's happening in the world. I think that becomes important. I think worrying too much about what's happening, I know, does not help to solve the problem, but it definitely affects our own life. We feel overwhelmed, we feel sad, we feel unhappy, we feel scared and frightened, and sometimes panicky. And that does not help. I think we need to understand that in this world, nothing is certain. Nobody knows exactly what's going to happen tomorrow. It's not a new thing, it's not a special occasion now. It's all the time like that. Sometimes we have a little bit of an illusion of security and stability, but if you look a little bit more closely to our individual life or everything else, nobody knows exactly what's going to happen tomorrow. But sometimes to really deeply understand that can become a stability also. Because if we deeply understand that there is no stability, there is no certainty, and that's a fact, so whatever may come tomorrow or in the future, I have no choice but to face that. And I have to face it, and I will face that. It's not too much useful to be so fearful and so scared and so unhappy today. So therefore, I live today as best as I can. Kindly, happily, do whatever I can to make things better in my life and in the community I live, and in the country I have, and do whatever I feel is the most useful thing to do, and then be ready to face what comes tomorrow. Because, I know from my own experience and experience of many people, something that looks hopeless is not always that hopeless. Something that looks the most wonderful also can change drastically. I think most of you kind of understand that I come from Tibet. I was born in Tibet, in the eastern part of Tibet, in 1952. The Tibet, that time, could be like 8th century here. It was very, what can you say, opposite of modern. We didn't have cars, motorways. There was no banks, there was no shops, there was no money in my place. There was nothing. But we were happy. It was totally different life. And then Chinese came and they took over, killed lots of people, destroyed everything, and we came to India as refugees. And we first came to India. None of us spoke any of the languages there. We didn't know how to dress ourselves, although we didn't have anything anyway, except the, thick fur, coats and things like that. We didn't know how to deal with hygiene, how to cook the food there, how to deal with the heat, mosquitoes and all other things there. Everybody got sick, many people died. It looked completely hopeless. But then we survived. Actually, there were lots of people when we were first in that camp, in the plain, in a place called Musamari. It was so hot at night, or day also, so hot that people could not sleep. So we were singing and dancing all the night because it was not possible to sleep. And people tried to, of course, lots of people got very sick and lots of people died, but people were not totally unhappy and not totally, what can you say, feeling overwhelmed and lost. And I think that's very important. Things change. There is a Jataka story I was telling in Dublin also. Maybe I should tell it here. It said that there was a king, and this king was a very good king, and he tried very hard to work for the people, and he was doing everything to make things better in the lives of the people. And he was very, very busy doing that. And one day he called all his advisors he said that, I'm trying my best to be a good king, and I'm very busy, but I need to learn the wisdom of the great masters of the past. But I have no time to study and read the books and things like that. And I don't have time to go through many kind of complicated discussions. So I want you to find one sentence that tells everything that I need to know. Please tell me one sentence that includes every wisdom of all great beings. And his advisors did their best to tell something, but he was not satisfied. Then he said, I give you 1 week. In 1 week, you have to tell me the essence of the life instructions of the great beings. And after 1 week, everybody came and tried, but it was not really very successful. Then they said, well, we failed. We are not that wise anyway. But we hear that there is a very wise person in another country. He's famous for being highly, very learned and very wise and very accomplished person, very spiritual person. Maybe you should go and visit him. So he said, okay, and he went there. And this person was in the countryside, in a forest, in a very small hut. And the king went there and said, I want to know the essence of all the, wisdom of all great masters in a very short way, one sentence. Can you please teach me? This man said, I'm not that wise, I'm not that great. But my father was a very wise man. And my father gave me a ring. And this ring has 2 stones on it. And he told me that if you are in a very, very dark situation, in a very helpless, hopeless situation, then you open this, take out this blue stone and read what's written under it, and it will give you the wisdom. And if you are in the best of the best situation and you don't know what to do more, then you take out the red stone and there you will find an instruction. So he said that keep this ring with you, and if you have this kind of very extreme situation, then you do that. But I'm old now, and I never had that situation where I had to open these stones of my ring. So I give you this ring to you. You take this ring and then maybe that will solve your problems later on. So the king went away with his ring. And after some time, this kingdom was attacked by one of the neighbor kingdoms, neighbor country. And they had huge army and all the weapons, and they were very prepared. So he fought, but he was defeated. And all his people were lots killed, and his cities were destroyed, and his army was destroyed. He had to run away. And even when he was run away, they chased him. And then it went a long time, and so his own kind of friends and lieutenants and ministers also left him, and at some time he was alone. The king was alone. And even then, the army of this attacking kingdom was chasing him. So he had to, hide in the high mountains, in the caves, in a very, very difficult situation. So he was thinking that now is the end of him. And then one day, he remembered the ring. And he thought, this is the time to open the stone. So he took out the blue stone, and underneath there was something written. And what was written was, this time will also pass. So with that, he got a little bit more encouragement. And he thought that it's true. It's not possible that this time cannot pass. This time will also pass. So he became much more kind of hopeful, encouraged, motivated, and then he tried his best to, save himself, and then slowly to build another army and all his forces and everything. And slowly, to make the story short, he could rebuild his army. He prepared himself well and then attacked and fought and got back his kingdom. And then he became even stronger king than before, because he was so, from his such a very difficult and very low, situation, he could come back and win back his kingdom. So everybody respected him, and then many other countries came to be with him, support him, and things like that. So he became a powerful king, and again he worked very strongly for the benefit of people. So he was very successful and powerful and everything, and then there was a time that he didn't know what to do now. What should I do? He was a little bit like everything too good. And he thought, I should now open the other stone. So he opened the red stone, and underneath it was written, "This time will also pass." And he felt a little annoyed first, but then he laughed. He said, "It's true. That's the way." So he became much more humbler. All his success didn't go to his head. He came nearer to his people, and he continued to be a very wise, very kind, very gentle, very, very good king. So this is something I think we need to keep in our minds. Any time will also pass. It doesn't mean that there will be no troubles, there will be no problems. The good times will come, bad times will come. Sometimes so many, so difficult and problematic and negative time comes that we could not imagine. But sometimes just after that, one of the most wonderful times also come. Everything goes well also. So therefore, I think we need to be stable. We need to be, able to understand this situation, that anything is always changing and everything is always changing. And so therefore, we just have to go on, and we have to live in the best way we can. We should not become totally overwhelmed by, something that we see or we feel or it's reported to be very negative and difficult and bad. Because sometimes what is supposed to become very bad is not that bad when you go through it. And also, people have kindness, compassion. We human beings are also, have negative feelings, but also positive things also. So therefore, we need to be a little bit optimistic. And when you say optimistic, it doesn't mean that we have to kind of believe that everything will go well at the end, Everything, all the problems will be solved and everything will be great. It's not necessarily like that. But we can always do something to make it better. I was once listening to an interview with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And some journalist was saying, he was trying to grill him a little bit, he was saying, you always say that people, you have to be optimistic. But, he said, what is optimistic in your situation? There is nothing optimistic happening. You have been, you've been a refugee for the last 60 years, 50 years, something like that. And the situation in Tibet is never improving. And there's nothing to be optimistic about. Why you say you have to be optimistic? There's nothing optimistic about, nothing to be optimistic about. What do you say? And then he said this. I found it very useful for myself, what he said was. He said that it's true that the situation about our country, Tibet, is very bad. It's been the worst in its history so far. There's anything that's very good. And then he was laughing, his usual laugh, and then he was saying, but because everything is so bad, there's absolutely nothing that we cannot improve on. There's everything that we can improve on. And then we need to improve on whatever we can. And we should focus on that. And that's optimistic. If we look at anything in our life, in the situation now, and try to find out what we can do to make things better, and then focus our mind on that. Try to work on that and become involved in that. Then we are optimistic because we are doing something to make things better. And our mind is not focused on only bad things, but something that we can do to make things better. And that's being optimistic. And we can do that kind of optimistic anytime, however bad, however negative the situation may be. So this is, I think, it's very important, I think. We need to, it's useless, it's hopeless, or it doesn't work, it doesn't help just to become, very sad or very just very kind of overwhelmed and feeling hopeless and things like that. We are now here in this situation. Actually, there are lots of positive things also in everybody's life. We should appreciate those. And then at every different level, there are lots of things we at our own level can do to make things better for us and for people around us. So we should focus on that. And if we are doing something that is improving, that is becoming better, then we are already optimistic. And how I feel is not how everything is around me, but how I focus my mind on. If I only focus my mind on things that is wrong, that's going bad, that's negative, that's bad, I feel bad. I feel hopeless, I feel sad. But if I focus my mind on things that are not that bad, or that can be improved, or that I can do something that I have to appreciate and be grateful about, then already my mind is more positive, happier, encouraged, So I think it is very, very important that our way of looking at things, and our way of focusing our mind on things should be done wisely, and make that a practice, a training. And in this way, I think we can maintain certain kind of stability, certain kind of positivity, any time of the situation. One lady in Switzerland I know of, she went to Tibet some time ago. And then she went to a nunnery where, lots of nuns were practicing very hard, and in a very, remote part of Tibet, and very, high altitude place. And there was one old nun, she said, who was blind and very old and sick. And everybody said she's one of the oldest nuns and very one of the main nuns, best kind of nuns there. So she was there, and she was laughing a lot. Every time she was laughing, she had no teeth, so her mouth was, she had photo taken. Her mouth was very big because there was no teeth, and she couldn't see, she couldn't walk very well, but she was so happy. She was laughing all the time. And then she asked, why are you so happy? Because she found that there's nothing to be happy about, She was sick, she was old, she couldn't see, Even the place she was living was a very small place, very dirty, and, very cold. And when she asked it, she said, why not? Why shouldn't I be happy? Why can't I be happy? Well, there's no reason not to be happy. And she laughed. Sometimes it's like that, Sometimes we think we need to have a reason why we should be happy. It's not necessary. If we are satisfied, if we are, if we are contented with how things are, and we find peace in our mind, we can be happy even there's nothing to be happy about. But this is something that we can learn, because it's a way of seeing, way of being. It's not because of this thing or that thing. If I have this much something, or if I have that much some other thing, then I will be happier. It's not like that. It's the way I am, the way I react, the way I, look at things, and how I focus my mind. So maybe that's all I would like to say, because just me talking, I think it doesn't make much sense, and I don't know if what I'm saying is something that you can connect with or not, or whatever. So I really very much like to discuss things. So if you have any questions, comments, whatever, you are most welcome. Hello.
I just wanted to know, in this modern world and fast world, how do we deal with or work with expectations? Expectations of family, of friends, of work, the people we work with, management, everything. How do we manage or deal with it? Thank you.
I feel that expectations is a difficult thing. Lots of dissatisfaction and problem comes from expectations. I think it's very difficult to get your expectations fulfilled. And most of the problems coming from expectations, because I have some expectations, and if I have this much expectations and this much is happening, I'm unhappy. Yeah. And sometimes this much happening is quite good, but if it is below my expectation, I'm totally unhappy. Lots of people are suffering a lot because of this, I think. Because we have certain expectations, and that expectation is not, not to the degree that I have. Especially, the young people, I think, have lots of problems with this. Some people, have big problems, emotional problems, like people don't appreciate me. Many people think like that. And how do you say, how do you know people don't appreciate me? Because they have certain expectation, and it's not that much you feel, so therefore people don't appreciate me. Maybe people do appreciate, but not to your expectation. So therefore, I think it's very important that we try to have less expectation, and then try to accept what is going on, what is happening, and try to work on that. Because if you have less expectation or no expectation, you are always happy. I'm traveling all over the world. I'm traveling everywhere last 30 years. And I'm always happy. I'm not saying that I'm the happiest person or anything like that, but I'm very happy because I go without expectation. So, whatever the situation is, it's okay because I didn't expect something different, I don't know what will be when I go there, what kind of situation will be there, but whatever will be, it's okay. If I had an expectation, then it would not be the same wherever I go or whoever I meet. It would be different. It is different. It's never as you imagine it would be. So therefore, I think it's very important to not expect, but be prepared to deal with the situation and, face the challenge at that time, Then I think it is much better, much realistic, so you don't have a kind of, it should be like this, because it never like this. It's always different. It can be better in many ways, but not necessarily the same. I think like that.
So you're saying we have to accept and not expect?
Yeah, I mean, we have to have some kind of acceptance, and with that situation, then you can improve if you want, and on that level, you can also improve. But if you have expectations, then you already got kind of you find it something different. And when you find something different from what you think it should be, you are kind of disappointed. Yeah? Then it's more difficult to deal with. Like if you come to a new place, for instance, you don't know what will be. But most of us have an expectation, and then it will not be the way you expect. Then you will be annoyed, and then you sometimes fight with people, and that's not good. You have to accept what it is. You have to see how things are, and how people are, how they everybody has expectations also, and especially you come and you have your expectation, they have their expectation, your expectation, their expectation clash, then life becomes very difficult. Yeah? I see this often. Yes?
I just wanted to ask just about, for us living through the climate breakdown, climate crisis,
Yes, I think that's, now it's becoming every year more and more clear that climate change is happening. This year, I was in Europe, even in Northern Europe, like in Germany and these places, and that in summer the temperature went up to 40 and even beyond, Some of the rivers, like River Rhine, which is one of the main waterways for transportation and things like that, became so low that they couldn't sail bigger boats, and all kind of things happening like that everywhere, and it's kind of scary, yeah. I was in a conference earlier this year, in France, and there were many, scientists and, those who study on climate change and things like that. And they were giving all these datas, scientific datas of what is happening, and it was very kind of hopeless. Everybody felt hopeless because it's so bad that it kind of almost at the edge of no return, and everything going to end, something like that. And then some people said that, well, it's so hopeless and depressive. Can you say something to make us more encouraged? I don't know what to say. I'm not I was involved in this kind of environmental cases and things like that for some time. And especially, our spiritual head, His Holiness the Karmapa, is a very strong environmentalist. He says that to work or to try to work on solving environmental problems is Dharma practice, because it is to prevent so much destruction and helping so many beings on this earth. And because the world is, the physical world, the environment, is the container, and all beings in it is the content. So we have the relationship of container and content. So if there is no container, the content, if this cup breaks, then everything in it cannot be there. It will. So therefore, it's very important. Environment is very important. Climate very important. So he made, each monastery to have an environmental wing under one of the senior-most Lama, and do something and to bring in, awareness among the people around that and things like that. So I was I had attended some conferences on his behalf, and also we did some other things. Actually, there was one gentleman in Ireland. Together we also made a book and also a website called Eco-Buddhism or something like that. But this is a difficult situation, and lots of people are very angry that the governments are not doing enough or things like that, and lots of people are on strike and things like that. I don't know whether that really helps too much. I personally feel that, nothing can be totally, absolutely unchangeable. Because everything is interdependent, Everything is happening because of many causes, many conditions, many elements. Everything is like that. There's nothing which is just because of one or two or three. And I think, at the moment when you see this situation, it looks quite bad. But in that situation, if we can put in another element, I think it could change the whole thing. Or if we can take out one element, everything can change also. I think this is very important, because when we look at things, sometimes we look at the things that are, presently all the elements are there. That if that goes on, then things will happen this way. But there's no reason why we can put in another element. I think this is important. I think, for instance, all this pollution and all this kind of is happened mainly after, this industrial revolution, 150 years, something like that. And, it's mainly the new industries and technology, and that is responsible for making the degradation of the environment so quickly. Now to go backward, as I already said, I remember how things were in Tibet in 1950s, when I was a child. There was no environmental pollution. We didn't do anything that polluted the environment. Everything was completely we didn't even have a soap. We used soda to wash things, and we didn't even wash the dishes. Everybody had a bowl. We carried that bowl and took out and then ate whatever, and then we put it back after cleaning it with our own tongue. It was quite healthy actually, because I think I think we can't go back to that. It's not possible to go back to that kind of a situation. But since the new technology and science has done this, I think they should fix it too. That's what I think. And I think they can do it if they put all the kind of good heads on it, good brains on it. Like for instance, we are still producing so much like weapons. Every day there are new missiles, there are new bombs, there are new things which is more destructive than others, Why do we need so many weapons? We already have enough weapons to destroy the whole world many times over. If we put that money, that brain, that energy in trying to find something to reverse this situation, I'm confident that it can be done, because there are so many technologies already there. There is, I just read it, I think yesterday or day before yesterday. In Australia, they released the first hydro, the water running, this car running on water. There is so many, electric cars now, even in India. This time when I came out of India, last time I went back to Delhi, I didn't know there was any taxis with the electric car. This time I called taxi, Uber, and said, do you want electric or otherwise? I said, I like electricity. I never went in an electric car so far, And electric taxi came. I went to the airport with the electric taxi, and it was nothing, it was same price as the other one. Yes. There are thousands of electric, cars as taxis. And there are many, many ways to make things, like that. I visited one house in Germany, in Berlin. It was built with geothermal powers, what to call it, the source, power source, electric, heating source. This house, some families got together and they just bought land and built this house, quite a big house, many flats. And it was nothing too much more costly, And in this house, in this flat, everything was geothermal. It's heat from under the ground. And it was 20 degrees, 21 degrees throughout the year. If it is hot outside, it becomes cool inside. If it is cool outside, hot inside. And electricity, heating system, cooking, electricity, lighting, washing, everything is from that land. They don't have to pay a penny. Why can't lots of people do that? And, not there's so many other things, so many other alternatives. I think they're there. And if we can do that, if we can do something, I also heard, I don't know how much it's, somebody said that they've kind of invented, or they've found a kind of bacteria which actually can eat up plastics. So, one of the worst polluters is the plastics. So therefore, I think even with the technology, there is a possibility to make it better, make it change. And also, the nature has a very strong capacity to revive itself. We saw this. In India, when this lockdown was happening, there were 2 months, everything was locked down, in 2020. In Delhi, usually there is lots of smoke and lots of, it became completely clear. And just few, little bit far from, it is in the place in Punjab called Jalandhar. From there, you could see Himalayas completely clearly, which they never saw for last, 30, 40, 50 years. Within just 2 months, not polluting, it comes back. So, I think the nature has the capacity to come back, to rejuvenate itself, very strong. And then if we can find some ways to get it back, I think it is possible. I don't think we need to be so hopeless and pessimistic about it. Of course, we have to do it. But maybe not just expecting somebody to do it, like the government. The worst thing is expecting somebody to do it. There's a story that there was a bird, and that bird laid its eggs in the field. And then the eggs hatched, and the small chicks were growing up. And they were a little bit growing up, and not enough to fly away. And then one day, the farmers came and said to each other, it's now time to harvest, and we should do it. We should ask our neighbors and friends around to come and help us to harvest the fields. So the chicks were very, very worried and excited. So when the mother came back, they told, now it's about to be, because then they will be destroyed. No? They came and the mother said, what did they exactly say? They said that, it's time to harvest, and they asked all the friends and, neighbors to come and help them to do it. Mother says, don't worry, but listen what they say next time. So a week passed, little more than a week passed, nobody came. Then again these farmers came and they said, it's now really we have to do it because it's time, and it'll be, maybe we should ask our relatives to come and do it. And then when the mother came, they said, yes, now they're really going to do it, because they said they will ask the relatives to come and do it. And mother said, don't worry, it's okay. And nobody came. And then after 1 or 2 weeks, they came and said, oh, it's really, now it's getting too late. Let's come tomorrow and start to harvest. And then mother said, what they say? They said that now is time and tomorrow they are coming and doing it. Or now it's time for leaving. So next time then they left and actually they did come and do it. You know, it's like that. So I think everybody, all of us, you know, those who are scientists, technologists, you know, those who can learn, maybe can learn and can do something, and you know, why not?
These three ladies are going to sing you a Hindu song.
Oh, that's good. Thank you so much.
Namaste. This
Namaste.
chant is the Shanti Mantra, peace invocation, and is commonly chanted as a prayer every day by families and people in general in India. Practicing Vedic mantras systematically, diligently, and with total concentration will lead us to a state of complete healing energy, and this will allow our physical, mental, and energetical body to regain its natural state. To truly understand the transformative power of the Vedic mantras, we need to realize that any form of sound in the creation is vibrational energy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are going to chant some Indian mantras for peace because Anikati asked us. So there are 3 mantras that we'll chant. I'll just tell you the meaning of the 3 first and then we'll chant it 3 times so you can hear it. So the first mantra is Om Sahanavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahviryam Karvavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahe Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The meaning is Om. May the Guru and the disciple be paved on the path of study together. Together Guru and disciple enjoy studies. Together the Guru and the disciple should do the work of study with deep concentration. Let what we study be full of genius. Make it not give rise to enmity because of ignorance. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Guru is the master here. The other mantra is Om Asatoma Satkamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Divine Lord, take me from untruth to truth. Take me from darkness to light. Take me from death to immortality. And the third, the last mantra for peace is Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. That is whole and this is whole. The perfect has come out of the perfect. Having taken the perfect from the perfect, only the perfect remains. Let there be peace, peace, peace.
Thank you.
So chant the mantra 3 times together. So you can just close your eyes if you want to and absorb the energy. Om Sahana Sahano Bhunaktu पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Very beautiful. Thank you. So, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.